Did you watch Shrinking?
No, I watched Wolfpack.
And
I mean,
yeah, yeah.
although it does, I would definitely watch the opening 10 minutes though, because it's got a great like chaos sequence with this wildfire and a bunch of animals
Okay.
run into a highway and just fucking chaos. A kid gets his head stamped to death by a deer. It's awesome.
See, I knew it. That is what happens, Nick. Kid gets killed, and you're in for at least two episodes. That's all they got to do.
It's just
You just
just come
murder a kid
on.
early enough. Episode 421 of the TV Dudes, recorded February 1st, 2023. Extraordinary. This week, we're talking about the British Hulu original Extraordinary. Plus, we've got our thoughts on that latest episode of Last of Us on HBO Max. Until we get started, I'm Randy,
I'm Nick.
and we're the TV Dudes. We are short of less this week. If you've been following the news at all, Texas is under a bunch of ice again, and 30% of the city's out of power, and Les is in that 30%. So he's not
Les
here.
discovered he has the ability to turn into a cat, but cannot change out of it.
Oh no. We were going to be talking about the Poker Feast this week, which is the new show on Peacock, which
Hmm.
everybody loves and we loved. We want to make sure Les gets to talk about that. And we're going to talk about Shrinking, which is on Apple Plus, which is the new Bill Lawrence show. And I really liked, but we haven't. We're going to push those off. Instead, we're talking about Extraordinary or Extraordinary, depending on how you pronounce it. And then Nick and I want to chime in on the Last of Us episode that everybody is talking about, if they watched Last of Us at all. But before we start with all that, we're going to do our appetizers. And Nick, why don't you? Actually, you know what? You go. You went first last time. I will go first.
Cool.
It's going to be quick because most of what I've been watching is Deep Space Nine.
Got it.
I am in a. I'm on a huge binge. I am. I got through most of season two this week. I've still got a couple more episodes, but it's really good. I'm enjoying it. I was a Babylon 5 guy, so I kind of never watched much Deep Space Nine other than scattershot episodes. But as I watch this, I'm like, I love Babylon 5, and there are things I like about Babylon 5 I like better than Deep Space Nine. But Deep Space Nine is weirdly, even though it's Trek, a little less silly than Babylon 5,
Hmm.
and it has its moments. Like the two-parter that introduces the Maquis, which is like the Federation resistance against the Cardassians, is surprisingly kind of dark and smart, and there's a lot of that kind of stuff in it. So I'm really digging it. I'm glad I'm watching it finally. However, it's like 26 episodes a season, and there are 7 seasons. It feels like it'll take me forever to get to the end of this.
Sure.
I watched the 4 episodes of Poker Face, which we'll talk about next week. I watched the 2 episodes of Shrinking. I watched the latest episode of Star Wars Bad Batch. I'll tell you all about it, Nick, because I know you're dying to hear about it. Um, this was actually their Indiana Jones episode. They went through like a temple with uh a bounty, not a bounty hunter, a like treasure hunter who was voiced by Wanda Sykes.
Okay.
So the voice casting is amazing. Like Rhea Perlman is like their fixer who gets them jobs, and she's playing a Trandoshan. And this was a Wanda Sykes was like their treasure hunter. It's great fun, and it is basically like an Indiana Jones episode in Star Wars, which makes a lot of sense. I'm enjoying it.
If voice cast equaled a great show, I'd be watching the shit out of Housebroken, but
Fair enough. Um, I also went and saw this indie movie called Skinamarink, which one of my ex staffers was super excited about because she's all big in the indie horror stuff, and it was an experience. It was. I feel like usually you and Les are the ones with the weird movie stories, but this thing, it's like it's all shot as if it's from the point of view of this 4-year-old kid. So it's like all angles, upward angles. It's almost black and white. It's got this grainy look to it,
wait,
and there's
almost
not a lot
black
of
and white.
sound. Yeah, it's color, but it's got a really dull palette, like deliberately so.
You mean like a sepia tone
And
or like
kind of, I don't know how to describe it exactly, but it's like it's almost still pictures at some point. It's like it's giving you clips of like Legos and stuff falling and this kind of stuff. And it's very, I want to say if Blair Witch was weirder and more abstract, like you're either gonna find this really interesting or you're gonna fucking hate it. I was on that line. I'm not sure had I know what I was getting into. If I could time travel back, if say I could flip back in time a little bit,
hmm
I don't know that I would have gone and seen it again. I think I would have warned myself, "Oh, I'm not going to go see that." But it's interesting. Like the technique of getting you to feel like you're in this little claustrophobic world and you're a 4-year-old with no power really works, but they don't tell a story with it, which kind of is a shame.
Sure. Okay.
Uh, but it's interesting. It's interesting. Um, watch Last of Us, which we'll talk about. Watch the latest Quantum Leap. I'm glad to see that back, where they did a Groundhog's Day riff that they revealed in the middle was not a Groundhog's Day riff, which I thought was very clever. And they're doing some
Oh,
great stuff with that show. I'm actually really liking it. And then I watched Love Extraordinary. Yeah, that's me.
all right. Not too long for me either, because I forgot a couple of the movies. I think I'm getting mixed up with some of the movies me and Les watched last week. So
Mhm.
we did watch something called From Beyond that has basically half the cast from Reanimator, Jeffrey Combs and Barbara Crampton, and a lot of talk about pineal glands, uh, and their sizes, and
Sure.
yeah, wow, great practical effect work from a Charles Band production. Charles Band being the guy behind Full Moon, being the production company behind the Puppet Master movies, if you remember our watch through for those.
Uh, yes, it haunts my dreams.
So
Yes.
we don't expect a lot of production value, and there was a lot of practical effects with this sort of thing. Jeffrey Combs gets sucked in by an alien worm out of like Dune or Beetlejuice, and gets all the hair ripped off of like sucked off of his body, or like it's acid off. I'm not exactly sure what happened to him, but he comes out of it looking like Professor Xavier.
Well, this is our Lovecraft story, right?
Yes, yes, it's based off of H.P. Lovecraft's story, which is kind of like, I don't know. Like I think Lovecraft went public domain some point in the 80s, and people went fucking ape shit.
I think that is true. Yeah. Yeah.
Like there was like the things from beyond, like the things from beyond, or usually they would say an H.G. Wells or a Lovecraft story. It was H.G. Wells or Lovecraft was the kind of the big thing for the like interpretations. But this one was pretty
Yeah.
good,
Yeah.
if not just insane. It's kind of like the same thing of, I love that Jeffrey Combs is in it's this in Reanimator. I was like, you could stop the zombie apocalypse by just not doing what you're doing. Stop injecting people with this thing that brings people back from the dead. Just stop doing it.
But what fun would that
Like he revives the cat like 3 times or so. Just stop injecting the cat, Jeff. It's not gonna work. What else I watched? I watched Vox Machina, the latest. Actually came out 2 weeks ago, so I had like they dropped like 3 episodes at once, which I don't know what the release schedule is like for Amazon or whatnot. But I think they watch better in chunks, in my opinion. But
be? Yeah, is it like do they do like 3 at a time or something
yeah, they
crazy
do
like
3 at a
that?
time. Hmm.
I think they do. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've watched 6 episodes, which is pretty good. They open up with a dragon battle with like a giant siege on the city via with 4 ancient dragons. Like there's an acid dragon,
I've heard this. Yeah.
like there's a ice dragon, a poison dragon, fire dragon, but the acid dragon is the best one because it just it's like covered in acid and dripping acid all the time. So when it flies over the city, people just get rained acid on and they melt. It's pretty good.
All right. Okay.
Yeah. Also it feels like you definitely can feel that they've rewritten D&D campaign in there of like, okay, so I see how this probably happened in a D&D campaign, but you wrote it to like be part of the story. Like one of the characters just straight up dies out of like
Yeah.
nowhere in the, I want to say the 3rd episode, feeling kind of out of nowhere in a story element, but then it's like, oh yeah, but sometimes that happens in D&D if your dumbass character like hey, don't touch that. Yeah, but I want to touch it. But the sign says don't touch it. Like in ancient Elven, it says it's gonna kill you. Yeah, but why do I trust that? Okay, cool. Roll a Constitution saving throw, you dumbass. But yeah, I'm continuing to enjoy that. I finished off
Cool.
season 2 of Dogs in Space.
How many seasons are there of Dogs in Space?
Two seasons.
So you're caught up.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right.
Completely caught up.
Okay.
They actually brought back the original, like the some of the original villains from the first season, which are trees. Uh, that they destroyed some of their stuff, and and the sentient trees came around and wanted to destroy Earth in revenge. Which
Nick,
not
I
one time do they pee on the trees, which I thought showed a level of restraint.
Nick, I know I ask you this every week, and I know you give me the same answer. This show is real.
Yeah, it is.
Okay,
This
just
is the
making sure.
longest
Just making
Stranger
sure.
Than fan fiction I've like. It's no,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and it's a great reunion between Garbage and her and his owner. God, I can't believe I've forgotten her name. He says it all the fucking time, like he does captain's logs to her. But yeah, he gets. I think that like there's a big thing where he gets promoted. He gets to be recognized as a good boy, which is like you're a good dog.
That's like an official rank in Space Dogs.
I think so. Like but it's a bit uh, Randy, it's a big moment, okay? It's sold emotionally and it worked, all right?
Oh, all right. Okay,
Can't really
fair enough.
explain why right now it's a big deal, but it is, okay? I watched The Last of Us, then the Poker Face, which I greatly enjoyed. I think Ryan Johnson is killing it on that show, and what a great
Yep.
star-studded cast. I was wondering
Yeah,
why it
it's
said
fantastic.
was wondering why it said guest starring Adrian Brody at the beginning of the first one, and then by the end of it, I was
Hmm.
like, oh, that's why.
Yep, yep.
Oops a doodle.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying that show. I can't wait to see more of it. So,
Yeah, and then me and Les watched another movie that I actually can't remember the name of, but it's very much like a demon possession house movie. Whatever. It was not particularly notable except for the black guy lives to the very end, which I thought was amazing in an 80s movie.
yep, that never happens.
Yeah, it never happens. And he survives by being a straight up coward. He runs from every scenario. I'll have Les name the movie next week because I bet you he
All
remembers.
right.
And then we watched The Lair, which was a new movie on Shudder, uh, with I think it's set in the Middle East, with like an old Russian lab, like where the Russians came in uh, and fucked up like a bunch of like they fucked with some alien shit and made some monsters, and then this woman has to like fight them off with the dregs of this camp. I love that the movie's pretty good, but the best part of it is this idea that the camp that's set near the place is like it's implied that the government knows that there's a Russian lab somewhere in the area buried as a bunker, and so they have this base here in case something happens as kind of like a okay, well, in case something happens, we have a response team, or at least so we know something happens. But they don't want to spend they don't want to put their best people, so it's just the fuck ups, the just the worst, like the worst of the army has to offer. There's the kleptomaniacs, the fucking straight up criminals, and it's like the Suicide Squad. And basically, it's they don't say it in the movie, but it's basically implied that no, we're waiting for you to not check in one week, and then we'll send in the real team when you guys get killed by monsters. Then we'll know that it's bad enough that we need it. It's so you get to see the ragtag crew. It's real fun. I would actually recommend. But yeah, that was it for me this week.
You know, you mentioned Shutter, and I should say I think Skinamarink when I saw it had like that Shutter banner on top of it, so it's probably either already on or about to be on there. And you and Les have definitely watched worse, and you should watch it so I can get your reactions to it.
Sure. I mean, you
All
said
right,
indie horror, so that immediately makes me not want to watch it.
I totally understand that, and it's probably the right impulse, honestly. But subject yourself to it for my whims, if you would.
No, I'll tell you what, we'll trade if you can watch. We'll find something that you might be willing to watch.
All right, all right. Let's talk about this week's main course. And that is Extraordinary on Hulu. I had this one pegged entirely wrong.
Extraordinary.
Extraordinary. I I saw the little interview sequence that they put together as the trailer, and it's the very opening of the
Mm-hmm.
show, and it's our lead character, and she's talking to a human resources person, and her power is that you have to tell the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And the pitch on this is that basically this is a world where everybody gets a superpower, and our lead, a 25-year-old Scottish girl, doesn't have her superpower yet, which is very weird. And I thought this was for some reason I
What
thought it was a
show have
Disney
we
Plus
what
show.
show have we watched recently that is like that? I can't quite remember.
I
It
I I don't
was it
I don't
Japanese
know.
of some sort? That there was this almost exact same premise
No, no. What do you know? Because this was so much better than
that
My Hero
that you couldn't
Academia.
watch even 2 episodes?
This, this and this thing. Honestly, I expected the same thing. I thought based on the trailer, which was kind of keeps it a little PG, and just somehow I got the idea it was a Disney Plus show. I thought this was going to be cute but uneventful, kind of like superhero show.
Mhm.
No, it's like a naughty British comedy, and it's fucking hilarious.
Oh, it's instantly charming. Uh,
Yeah. It reminds me of what I liked about, say, The Misfits
yes.
and Spaced. Like, it's got bits of that in it.
Oh, very much, very heavy mitzvah. The main character's mother is the
Yes.
priest from Dairy Girls. You remember the show I was talking to you about, and how the priest was the best, or
Okay.
the nun, the head nun was the best part of it.
Yeah, that makes
So I was
sense.
glad to see her again. I was like, yes, oh,
Well,
fantastic.
and there's one episode in here that has the love interest from Sex
Sex
Education,
education, yeah,
and she was great. But I didn't recognize the leads, and I thought both of them were fantastic.
yes, yeah. The basic premise is basically the same as the most almost all humans, it seems like, get powers
Mhm.
before puberty, or like around their 18th birthday, before, usually beforehand, something to do with puberty, I don't know. But
Yep.
it's weird that she's 25 and doesn't have her power yet.
Yep.
She's goes through life with her roommates, that one wants to be a vigilante, with a whole vigilante team, even though it
Mhm.
seems like in this world there is no super teams. There doesn't seem to be
Right.
superheroes.
Right. People have powers, but they don't do the superhero thing. Also, the vigilante thing, especially the like recruiting sequence, that reminded me of Mystery Men
Yes,
in
yes.
all good ways. Like super fun.
I honestly thought that
Um,
when the guy squatted down, I'm like, okay, so he's gonna be the dude, the fart one, the fart based power guy.
but no, he has a 3D printer in his ass.
I can do anything. I can do
I
anything as long as it's aerodynamic.
I love the powers in this show. They're like her boss, who like basically walked. She's like a 60-year-old woman who walked in her husband having sex with
Yeah.
someone and regressed, and now she's in a little girl's body.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a dumb, stupid power. This reminds me of like the novel Wildcard series where they had deuces.
Mm-hmm.
They had like the worst powers.
No,
There's
it's
so many of that, and like it seems like flying is like everybody's got that's like the basic bitch power,
yeah,
but
it's
it's a cool
so
power.
many people are flying. It feels like generic. Like, oh, okay, you can fly,
Yeah,
whatever.
you can fly, whatever. Uh, but her roommate's power, her female roommate, her best friend, has the ability to summon the dead, and she works in a law office where she
Yes.
brings dead people back to
Oh, that's
life.
so,
And what a cool idea it
dude. You could make
is!
a that's a whole show right there.
Yep,
That's a
yep,
whole show premise right there, and they
yep,
do
yep,
such great things with it. She has to most of these, she just comes back for divorce. It's like, no, no, it's the will's right. That bitch gets nothing.
yep, yep. But when she gets approached, when she was signing a she was playing a deceased a rock star,
Mm-hmm.
and the management company was trying to work
It
out a
was
deal
a
for
country star.
elevator music and cruise music. No, no, the thing she was working on was the
Oh,
cruise
right.
ships and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then the guy approached her. He's like, "Hey, you want to do some off books work?" And it turns out, yeah, that there's a country singer
Mm-hmm.
that they want her to record his last song. And it turns out the country singer was a super shitbag misogynist and racist.
Well, it says like it's from a deal 30 years ago, and I'm like, oh, that's probably
Yeah.
not going to age great.
Yep. Yep. What I love is that they're pitched so much money that she's going to do it anyway.
Yes. Well,
And the
like, we'll
changing the
compromise. We'll change the script. He doesn't remember.
oh man, the change of the song lyrics was funnier than I could ever imagine. There's so much about the show is charming and funny. Like I laughed out loud in every episode.
Well, let's talk
Um,
about the elephant in the room, Les.
You
who
mean
is
the
your
cat in the
favorite
room?
character and why is it Jizzlord?
Jizzlord is a cat man who's done nothing wrong.
He's the best boy.
He's the best boy. Yeah. What I love is that at no point do they bother finding out his name. They just keep
No,
calling him
they
Jizzlord,
just keep calling him Jizzlord.
and that never gets old. And and he is the sweetest character. And as we go on, we get to see that our lead is kind of a narcissist,
Oh
and we
yeah.
see that he is like the sweet boy, and like they had an emotional payoff at the end of this that I was shocked by, and then they had another twist on it that I was like, oh shit, give me season 2 now.
Mm-hmm. No, I
Did you get all
only
the way
had
through this?
I got 7 eps in, so I'm one
Oh man,
left.
there's some jaw dropping shit in episode 8.
I got to the point where Vigilante is basically recreating the team, and it's gonna fucking destroy his relationship.
Yes,
Like,
yes,
'cause it's.
man.
I love that his power is turning
Uh,
back time, but it
mhm.
never seems to be useful.
No, he's not smart enough to use it properly, I don't think.
Well, he
Um,
turns back time when he's like when the girlfriend wants to have sex, and he says the wrong
yeah,
thing. And then he says
yeah,
the right
yeah.
thing to only go like, yeah,
Mhm.
but also I need to fuck it up again immediately afterwards. Like, well, why the
Yeah.
fuck did you even? God damn it!
He's he's using it like a permanent reset button. And she
Mm-hmm.
catches him and she's like, "No, don't rewind it." And
Nope.
he does
Don't
it.
you?
Yeah.
You will
Yeah.
remember I did this anyway.
Yeah, that is really good. The relationship she has with her mom having the ability to interface with tech but not understanding tech because she's kind of an older lady.
God damn it, that's funny.
Another just that's a great gag. It's just a really good gag. Yeah. Yeah. Um
How do I distract him from
they
the voicemail I left? Good lord, even I know to send him nudes.
Oh, and when she thinks that her power is using her tits to turn cats into people,
My tits can make people into cats.
it's like, is it possible that that's his power? That and then the post credits in every one of these is always hilarious.
Yeah,
That
they
one was the one where she shows her tits to a dog just to make sure.
just I just wanted to be sure about it. She explains to the homeless man.
This was totally charming and funny, and dirtier than I expected to be.
Well,
And there's
also
already been renewed for a second
it
season.
when it hits its sincerity, it works as well. Like there's
It does.
the relationship when they work on the erotic jigsaw puzzles together. Like that actually sells. That
Yeah, it does.
and I actually like the journey of Orgasm Boy, I'll call him.
Oh man, yeah, I forgot about Orgasm Boy. He's got some episode 8 stuff you're gonna enjoy.
It and because they come back to him a couple times, and he first like, oh, that must be a really cool power. No, it is not. That is a common misconception. It is not
He's like, you'd think that,
because
but no. And
he
he
can't
hates his
control
power.
it. It's just whenever he touches someone, they have an
Yeah.
orgasm. Well, so when did you discover your power? Well, it was my
It was my
father's
dad's 60th
60th
birthday.
birthday. Oh God. And then he just keeps going with that story, even
Yep.
though you can stop there. Like,
Yep. Yep.
we've
Yep. Yep.
all connected the dots. Like, oh no.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
caught a pass, and he finally gave me a hug, the thing I've wanted since I was young. And
So I have to let you know that Gordon, aka Orgasm Boy, his real name is Eros.
oh, okay.
So so that's perfect.
Sure, got it. Like, I love that in the next episode when the roommate comes and asks him like, "Hey, you should really embrace your power." And then the next woman to come in smoking a cigarette, like, "You the orgasm kid?" And he's like,
He's like, I
"Yes,
am.
yes, I am." And he embraces it, and I thought like, "Oh,
Yep.
good for you,
Yep.
orgasm kid."
Yep. Yeah. This was a total surprise. I mean, I came in off of having a couple really good new shows this week, and with that Last of Us episode, I was like, man, it's gonna be hard for the show to be anything but just like disappointing. But it was great. It was super fun.
No, greatly enjoying it.
Yeah.
Even despite the superhero, like, I love that superhero fatigue does not seem to be a thing, at least not for me. I
Yeah.
just
No.
there's always seems to be something new to say about it, some new fun to be had.
My big fear about this was that it was going to be that like DC show, about the insurance.
Oh, Powerless or
Like,
no?
yeah, Powerless.
Was that
I
what it
was really
was?
scared it was going to be Yeah, it was powerless. That was it. I was really scared that's what this was going to be.
Yeah,
That was going to be like, oh, look how funny it is to watch normal people in a superpower world, and it was not that at all. It was very clever and funny.
I feel like powerless is the exception here. Like for like it's the one that like wow
Yeah,
a rare miss on these because usually uh these are pretty. Usually we get a Harley Quinn level for superhero comedies. Like
you're
nerds
right. You're
nerds
right.
in a writer's room really enjoying like what to just discovering the weird powers, like the vet being able to do Doctor Doolittle and talk to animals, but the turtle
That's the
just keeps
that's
screaming, "Kill me!
that's the
Do it, you
worst
fucking
power.
coward!"
That was the worst power. All those
Oh,
animals
just
just
walk away
begging
like
for
you
attention.
always
Oh
do.
man.
The dog is like, "Why don't my parents love me? Why did they leave me here?"
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't
That
take
was
that. Don't
awful.
take that bunny. You don't want that one. That one's racist.
Yeah, that was funny. And the them I forgot them going to the club on the benefit of the little toy dog.
Yeah, because
King
the
shit is what
him
it said.
and Jizzlord have a previous like rivalry.
Yeah. 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 This was a delight. And I definitely recommend it. All right. Let's change gears a little bit and talk about The Last of Us episode 3, which I forget, Nick. We've talked about this before, but I always forget. You have or have not played any of the Last of Us games.
I have. I'm the only TV dude that it
That's what I
has.
thought. So but however, that did not fully prepare you for this episode because this was new stuff in a lot of ways.
Yes. What the first game implies, this episode fleshes out and fully. It's the first time for me that the show is doing something that the video game did, but better.
Yeah.
I feel like the first episode added a lot of extraneous stuff just to get to a time period they were comfortable with. But I'm like, you should
Uh-huh.
keep it simpler. This one is like, okay, now here's a story where the game couldn't go into a the relationship Bill and Frank have. In the game, you never meet Frank before he's dead. You never see Frank.
Right.
And this it's beautiful. It's a
Yeah.
beautiful love it's when you said switch gears, I was like, switching
Yeah.
gears from a lighthearted comedy to Last of Us should be jarring. But this episode was
Yeah.
shockingly uplifting and kind of beautiful that people can find love in a po they had a wonderful life
Yeah.
together.
Yeah. I don't know that I've seen a better love story, and definitely never not a better gay love story than this one.
It's it, it's heartening. It is uplifting. It
Yeah.
makes you
It is.
hopeful. Like
Yeah.
even 10 like they go from 10 years and still taking care of each
Mhm.
other and it's you know Nick it's some of the best honestly and Nick Offerman is great but this is some of the best stuff he's ever done.
I agree, and that's the thing. Nick Offerman, if you say this is top tier Nick Offerman, that is saying something because Offerman has done amazing work in a variety of places, but this was something phenomenal from him.
When he cries at the end of this
Yeah.
when Frank says that this is my last day, I can't keep going and asks
Yeah.
for him to do what to be with him on his last day, and Nick Offerman just starts to cry. My heart was in my throat. I was
Yeah.
really there with him. Like, oh my god,
Yeah.
he's heartbreaking.
Yeah. Yeah, it was phenomenal. And the Frank is played by Murray Bartlett,
The
who I didn't
manager
recognize the name right. Yeah,
from White
not just okay, so
Lotus.
he's had an amazing year. So he's
Yes.
Armand from the White Lotus. He's Vinny Green from Physical,
Oh my god. All
and
right.
he's Nick Denoya in Welcome to Chicken Chippendales.
Oh
This guy's
wow.
been great in
Fuck.
everything I've seen him in.
Damn.
Yeah,
Oh
I didn't
wow.
recognize him, but yeah,
All
and so I'm like, oh shit, no wonder, because
top tier,
yeah,
really premier stuff. Wow, what a great year for him.
yeah, yeah, that was he's had 2021 to 2023. Those are his roles. I mean,
Yeah.
everything he's done
Wow.
has been killer. So yeah,
Great couple
yeah,
years.
this whole thing was really really good, and yeah, I think the story of them, I didn't know what to expect because I don't know the game at all. So I didn't
Mhm.
know if this was in the game, and quickly saw, oh, this was not, that basically you meet you meet Bill, but you never see Frank. And
Yeah, it's implied. There's a whole thing where
yeah,
it's
yeah,
more it's a more sad thing of a relationship falling out. It's honestly not quite as good because
yeah,
it's another downer of like the last, and what I didn't realize is that, oh, we can have an uplifting story here so that the downers can have more weight if it's not all just downers. Like
yeah,
the I'm sure plenty of these episodes are going to be sad as shit, but this one being just heartwarming as it is, I think really. And then the letter at the end and about Tess, how it connects back to what just happened in the
yep.
last episode.
And deepens the story. I mean, this wasn't just a bottle episode. This was also this deepened the story of what's going on with Joel and Ellie and
Hmm.
their connection, and her starting to learn more about him. But also, this was also funny as shit. The bit
Yes.
where Offerman, right after we see him sort of setting up his own little individual paradise, and that he basically goes around, collects all the natural gas. He's like survivalist. This is what he's built his whole life around, and the bit where he's sitting there having his nice dinner and he watches the mushroom zombie get his head blown off by his tripwires, and it's like he's just that's his TV. He's like,
Yeah.
this never gets old. That killed me. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, and the relationship between him and Frank is funny too with how like well like you and your like even their arguments they have is like you and your prepper bullshit and thinking like all the government are Nazis. Like they are all Nazis.
Like
Well, not
government are
now they are.
Nazis. Now they are. Yeah,
I talked about
that was
before.
great. Um, and also the push pull between Frank and Bill's, like Bill was perfectly happy on, well, more or less perfectly happy on his own,
Well, I think
and
that's what the
Frank sort
thing
of
was is
opens him
that
up.
Bill thought he
Yeah,
was happy and Frank
yeah,
pushed
he thought
him
he was
to be
happy.
actually
Yeah,
happy. Like, no,
yeah,
we're going
yeah,
to have a life, we're going to have friends. We're going to
yeah.
be
We're gonna bring people here.
we're
Yeah,
going to be a real couple. And
yeah, yeah.
and
The
and Bill by the
the
end of it, like again, well, I'm assuming you're not watching this, spoilers for games and the show, but
spoilers, right? Yeah,
by the end of it, that the when he drinks that when he downs that
wine.
glass of
Yeah,
wine, I love
yeah.
that as the audience and Frank know the score of like
We know what's going on. Yeah,
pills are already in the bottle, weren't they? Like, oh yeah, fucking enough
yeah,
to kill a horse. You were my purpose. I've lived a long great life. Uh
yeah.
and I think the way even Frank said it was like I should be furious, but objectively, that's pretty
Yeah,
romantic.
yeah, yeah. I also really like the bits and pieces we see of Bill and Joel together,
Yes.
the relationship that they had. I assume in the game there's more of that, and so I don't know if we'll see more Offerman in flashbacks, or if, just like we saw Anna Torv's character in flashbacks this time, or
They
if that's
allude
basically
to
sort of a one and done.
yeah, that Bill and Joel see themselves as the necessary evils of this world that
Yeah. Which makes sense.
they so that other people can survive, the actual good people can survive and live long lives. They are the ones that'll
Hmm.
do the horrible and necessary things. And
Yeah.
that was what Joel was to Tess, which I thought was interesting because
Yeah.
Tess is portrayed as being a hard and ruthless person. But by the end of
Right.
that episode, it shows that she has hope of like humanity. Like, no, no, that you don't understand. There is hope. Like deep down, she really did have a hope for humanity that Joel does not have.
Right. Right.
And Joel doesn't have his Frank.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's I think that's what the episode is really trying to show us too, is the well, one, it accomplishes a great trick of making you think that Ellie and Joel go a lot longer without learning about each other than they actually do, because it feels like three
Yeah.
episodes before they start to learn about each other, and then it's like, no, no, it's actually they actually start to talk to each other immediately after Tess dies, but we push this story in the middle to make it feel longer, which is probably a good move to make the relationship feel more earned. And to relate it back to Tess and Joel and how that is going to affect Joel going forward of what will he do without a person to protect? Like
Right.
does he because is Ellie going to be that new person? Can he survive without a reason to live in this world? That
Right.
sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that I have no idea what's coming, and so they can really surprise me. But I also love that even if you love the game, like this
I
was
don't
able
know
to
what's
surprise
coming either
people.
because honestly this
Yeah.
one was so different that I was like, wow,
Yeah.
I could I can see the broad strokes of some of the other characters and stuff they'll do, but honestly, this story for Bill and Frank turned out a lot better than it did in the games for them. It gave them a lot happier of an ending, and
Yeah.
which is good and bad for me because now I have hope for other characters that are probably not going to come to the better ends that they want. Like, yeah, it's probably still going to work out for them, but it worked out for these guys, so cool.
Yeah. I think this is the show that 3 weeks ago I was like, I mean, I guess but
Dude, I didn't even
it's
think
got the
that
guy
much
running
of it.
Chernobyl.
I really didn't think.
Like I wasn't even sure I was going to watch it, and now I'm like, yep, this is absolutely the show. Like I'm looking forward to week to week.
Yeah,
And then right now we're in a good place. We got Last of Us, Poker Face, and Shrinking. So we've got a bunch of good stuff coming up that's episodic right now. So
although I will say I did see a fucking Vanity Fair article thing of like, oh, well, why TV shows are obviously superior to video games
uh,
because the TV show did this episode, which was better than the video. I'm like, okay, cool, I guess. I mean, that doesn't inherently make the entire thing better. You've seen 3 episodes of it.
yeah, and also it's a different medium. It's a different
Yeah,
like they movies and TV and video games do different things, and they all tell their stories well. And this whole like, well, this is the poor man's medium, and the smart intelligent person only watches films. I'm like, fuck that. There's good stories in all these mediums.
what I'm hoping is that like, hey, it's good because the core story behind The Last of Us is a good story. And the
Yeah,
reason it works for a TV show, adapted for a TV show, is that they are taking what works for that story but a TV show version of it, and then the video game version is the same general story, but worked for that medium. And I'm sure if they made a movie,
right.
they would try and make the best
Yeah,
movie they could with whatever, but they would have to change so much again.
yeah. Well, I mean, the co-creator on the video game is the showrunner for the show,
Yeah.
or he's not the showrunner, but he's like one of the showrunners. He's basically the executive producer, and that matters, you know.
hmm Oh, also for those of you mad that they made Bill gay or whatever, I'm not sure if there's any controversy about that. I'm just assuming, I guess. I'm just assuming people are
Of course,
shitty.
there probably is.
But
Yeah.
hey, it just gets gayer. So
Buckle up.
buckle up for that. Like the rest of like The Last of Us, the DLC for the first one, and the second one is all about fucking the main character is gay and the heavily revolves around a trans kid.
Good. Good.
So hold on to your butts.
This is a good place for me to throw in a reminder that you can support us by going over to
Oh
patreon.com
hell
slash
yeah.
TV dudes. Throw us a buck an episode. In exchange, you get to keep up with our streaming services, which there's a lot of them. And you get bonus content each week. This week, we're going to talk about that new slate of DC film and TV that got announced. In fact, we're going to do that right now. So if you have our patron, you can just go right over to Patreon and listen to that episode. If you're not, you can go over to sign up and listen to that episode and at least like 100 other ones of various other things we've talked about.
Yes.
But that will wrap it up. That will wrap it up for us this week. Thank you, Nick.
Thank you, Randy.
Thank you to our listeners, and until next time.
TV Dudes out.
The TV Dudes is an independently run podcast out of Austin, Texas. We are exclusively listener supported. If you'd like to help us out, go to patreon.com/tvdudes.
You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at TV Dudes. All the music for our show is done by our friend and original TV dude Gregory J. Amani Smith.
To find out more about us, go to thetvdudes.com. I'm Randy Lander.
I'm Les Weiler.
And I'm Kyle Scott.
Thanks for listening.